16% of companies are using some type of DOT-based solutions. More than half of them consider blockchain or DOT as a key part of the digital transformation journey. Is one, and I think I encourage people to look into that sector. There's a lot of potential there and a lot of investment opportunity as well.
Hello everyone, my name is Ross and I am co-founder and chief operating officer at Stobox. We are welcoming our guest, Radoslav Dragov. He is a blockchain lead in Europe at IDC company. Also, Radoslav participated in the Digital Assets Investment Conference hosted by Stobox in November. Radoslav, thank you for joining us today. Please tell us more about yourself and your current activities.
Yes, thank you for having me, and thank you for inviting me to the Digital Asset Investment Conference. Just to do, you already mentioned most of the important stuff, so I am in charge of the blockchain practice for IDC, European Blockchain Practice. IDC is an international research and consulting company that has a specific focus on the tech industry, and my area of focus, of course, is DOT technology. So I analyzed and I identified business issues, market trends, and a lot of use cases related to many DOT applications. So anything DOT related, especially as it pertains to the European region, I'm your guy. I'm really happy to be here.
Cool. Radoslav, you have a great experience, and as you mentioned, you are involved in different researches about blockchain and tokenization. So I wonder, what is the status of the STO ecosystem in the Europe? So where we are now, and what is the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. And before I get into my own thoughts on the question, I would like to clarify for some of your viewers what an STO ecosystem is, because if you want to have a thriving ecosystem, you need a number of different types of organization working together. So you need infrastructure providers, which provide the technical backbone for STOs. You need issuance providers, you need banks, you need investors, you need secondary markets. And again, everything has to be working together so you can have a growing and thriving ecosystem. And with that out of the way, I would say that not just my opinion, but objectively speaking, Europe has a very thriving and growing STO ecosystem. In fact, if we zoom out a bit and look at it on a global level, there are two main centers of STO activity in the world. One is the United States and the other is Europe. The United States has a particular strength and actually dominates when it comes to investors, but Europe has a strength in issuance providers. So each region has its own strengths, of course. And I think there are a couple of reasons why STO activity is high in the European region. And here I include the EU as well as other countries outside Switzerland, the UK now as well. Why it's doing well is for a number of reasons. One of them is DOT adoption. So we do surveys at IDC across the continent and across all major industries. And we see that 16% of companies are using some type of DOT-based solution. So that could be a small proof of concept, or it could be a large project, but that's a relatively high number. And it shows that a lot of industries are familiar with the technology in general. We also track spending on DOT-based solutions, and we see that it has been growing for very quickly for the past few years. And I think we project to grow fast for the next few years as well. So overall, as I said, on the DOT front in general, Europe is doing really well. The second factor is the concentration of capital. Europe has one of the world's foremost financial centers. And speaking specifically about the EU, it's very easy to do business across different EU countries. So that movement of capital, concentration of capital, obviously is a very good precondition for STOs. And last but not least, I would like to mention is the regulation, which usually is a big obstacle when it comes to STOs. But specifically about the EU, it has generally favorable regulation. And also the European Union has recognized the importance of STOs in digital assets. So they've drafted a new legislation. in September of this year. So they will enact that legislation, generally more favorable. It will standardize the taxonomy between different digital assets. So we're looking at a bright future when it comes to regulation. They will also enact 22, a regulatory sandbox, which means that a lot of companies can actually try to experiment with digital assets with lower regulation, or where the limits of existing regulation do not apply, which shows that, again, the EU Commission has realized the potential of this technology, of these new class of digital assets, and they're trying to encourage it. Again, this is a long way of saying that I think that STOs are thriving at the moment, at least in terms of ecosystem, and they will do so in the future. But that shouldn't make people complacent, because other regions are growing even faster. So I think, yeah, we shouldn't get complacent, and we should work very hard to build on our previous successes.
Yeah, thank you for your insightful answer. Regarding the regulation, many countries do not have a legislation which allows to conduct an STO from scratch. For example, in Estonia, they have a big traction in crypto laws for crypto
Yes.
activities. But if you are looking to operate with digital securities, you must confirm every change of registry of shareholders by notary, and it kills the main idea of STO. Based on your experience, which jurisdictions fits best to operate for blockchain companies or to conduct an STO?
Right. So that's a good question, and I should say upfront that I'm not a lawyer, so don't take this as a financial advice. And I would like to point out that having no regulation can be just as bad as having a hostile regulation. With that out of the way, I would say that the countries which are the best for that are the usual suspects. So we're talking about Switzerland, which has also a very thriving crypto community in general, and has that for a number of years. We also look at smaller countries which are very much punching above their weight, like Malta, and countries such as Estonia, which can have more favorable regulation. And I think also bigger EU countries like Germany and France generally have not a favorable regulation. And I think with the EU initiative that I mentioned earlier, there will be standardization across the European Union, so you know the taxonomy of the different asset classes. So you won't, at least you have clarity on what you're dealing with and what is the necessary regulation. And part of that draft regulation is to plug the holes when it comes to more exotic asset classes. So again, you have a lot of clarity on that. And I think in general, they'll be trying to push for something that's a bit more favorable and definitely technology neutral.
Regarding their jurisdiction, in Stobox, we help clients with feasibility assessment of their projects, and we help them with legal management and with the consulting. And as we see, there are three best jurisdictions for STOs. It is the Liechtenstein, Switzerland, and US.
Right. Yeah, so certainly I failed to mention Liechtenstein. Yeah, it is one of the favorable ones. US as well. I mean, US for many reasons is a favorable, although let's say there's a mixed feeling for many people when it comes to the US, but they have their own benefits and a huge investor base, which makes it, makes it very attractive to do business there. So I completely agree.
Yeah, in your opinion, what are the key elements lacking for mass adoption, specifically of tokenization? So what are the trends of DLT technologies?
Okay, if we speak more generally about DOT, I think asset tokenization obviously is one of the big trends that will kind of define the industry in the next few years, and we talk a bit about it. So if we exclude asset tokenizations and we talk about DOT more generally, I think one of them would be digital transformation. Digital transformation, as the name implies, is transforming different business processes and services with digital technology. So you make them more efficient, you streamline them, and you make them more cost effective. So we've seen that the impact of COVID has been that many businesses try to digitize all of a sudden, because they cannot, I mean, if people are in their homes, most of the work process has to be done digitally, or they have to be automated. So I think DOT can piggyback very much on this existing trend that's been turbocharged by the impact of the COVID epidemic. I think we actually have seen that in our surveys. As I said, with IDC, we conduct surveys on a number of tech issues. And one insight is that when it comes to decision makers who are trying to do digital transformation projects, more than half of them consider blockchain or DOT as a key part of the digital transformation journey. So I think as these companies are digitizing, they'll use DAO technology for that, and that will push adoption higher. I think more people are realizing that blockchain and DOT is not an end unto itself. It's not an island, and you have to combine it with other technologies so you can unlock the true potential of the technology itself. You get synergy, and one of the popular combinations, for example, DOT and IoT. So you can combine with many other technologies to get full benefit. So as I said, one trend, digital transformation, pushing for higher adoption would be, I think we will reach a tipping point in several applications of DOT. One of them would be in supply chain management, which we've seen a lot of activity and a lot of solutions. The other is trade finance, and I think in identity management, even when it comes to not just the private sector, but the public sector as well. So I think there will be sort of maturation in these few applications of a DOT, which will, again, unlock a lot of value, and it will be kind of a snowball effect. Well, people will notice it's this widespread use of DOT, and more will try to adopt it. And last but not least, I would say when it comes to general DOT trends and where also asset tokenization can be applied is in sustainability. So we're talking clean tech, green tech. The next decade, 2021 to 2030, is the UN decade of ecosystem restoration. So a lot of money is poured in to fight climate change. A lot of people are investing in it. I mean, Jeff Bezos has a multi-billion-dollar fund for that. So a lot of people are investing. And I think here, different DOT can be a strong ally. It could be used to, for example, to track ethical practices when it comes to supply chains, whether this product has been sustainably sourced, where people were treated ethically, people dealing with these products. It could be used for reforestation as well, to encourage reforestation projects, and just for a number of initiatives that have something to do with creating a more green and sustainable future. So again, sustainability is one, and I think I encourage people to look into that sector. There's a lot of potential there, and a lot of investment opportunity as well.
Yeah, thank you for a great, insightful answer. We are working on an interesting financial engineering concept, personal securities, where people tokenizing themselves. So what do you think are other opportunities for financial innovation and creativity that blockchain technology opens? So which industries can benefit from tokenization?
By the way, this sounds like really interesting. I have to dig into that. Tokenizing yourself sounds like a really interesting concept, and that kind of shows the versatility and the potential for innovation when it comes to DOT and tokenization in particular. So one recent project that really caught my attention was really innovative use of tokenization, was this project called the Open Reforestation Protocol. And basically, it uses tokenization and DOT technology to make the process of reforestation, which is another word for planting trees, to make the whole process coordinated, more scalable, and more standardized. So anyone who wants to get involved, who wants to build solutions, can do so. One of the clever things of this project is how they use tokens. So roughly speaking, there are two types of tokens. One of them works as the lifeblood of the project itself. So you have a number of actors when it comes to reforestation. You have the people planting the trees, you have the people providing the resources to plant the trees in terms of funding, and you have the other side of that is people who are actually monitoring if the reforestation project is going according to plan and there is no fraud. So you create this incentive model so everybody is incentivized to work according to the plan. So there is no cheating and everything is done by the book. But what's interesting is they involve another token. When the forests actually start growing and they start capturing carbon, you get automatically a minting of carbon capture credits. And these carbon capture credits can be actually traded on an open market. So again, using tokens and tokenizations to incentivize the reforestation project, carbon capture, and ultimately, helping the planet and trying to solve one of the biggest problems facing humanity. So I think that's a really innovative way to use the technology and kind of empower people to do good in the world. I think you asked also which industries can benefit. So, okay, we mentioned sustainability is one of them. The other, financial industry, of course, would be that goes without saying. It is the driver for STOs and tokenization, but it also beneficiary. I think another industry that maybe people are overlooking is the media industry, because you can tokenize different types of intellectual property. Specifically in this case would be copyright. So if you can copyright, then you can make some interesting ways to own copyright and how you use it. So that could be a game changer. Another one, I think, in the utility industry, specifically energy production. If you want to trade energy, peer-to-peer trading of energy, I think tokenization will make that much easier. So yeah, I think there are a number of industries that can really benefit from that. The retail industry as well.
Great practical examples, and as we see, many companies currently using the dual token model concept. For example, in Stobox, we have our digital security Stobox, and we have our own utility tokens, which will be used in our future crypto exchange. And through their utility, you can pay also for our consulting services as well. And tokenization, it is not only about attracting money, because a lot of people comparing to traditional instruments, for example, loan, banks, credit, venture funds. It is in general shifting online and doing all operations online. So one of the key element of STO, when we talk about the full process, it is the corporate governance, where you can do all of your corporate actions, I mean voting, payment dividends, completely online. And it shows that through tokenization, and as you mentioned, through several token models, dual token models, you completely change your business model of your company, engage your customers, and provide them more loyalty to your brand.
Again, we're scratching the surface here, and there's so many possibilities with these type of tokens. And I'm always amazed when I see something which on the surface might look complicated, but then you think, wow, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I apply that? And I think it will take some time for people to kind of grasp the potential and get comfortable with these different types of financial instruments. And once we get that critical mass, then I think there'll be a lot of interesting, exciting projects launched.
Yeah, thank you for your reply. Last month, we are quite successful in the rise of secondary markets. So we are seeing that Archax, one of our partners, they get their MTF license, IONX, Asian exchanges. But as we have seen from the open finance example, liquidity is limited, and there are not many participants to support operation of the exchange. What is necessary for the liquidity in those markets to become attractive for professional and public investors from your perspective?
Specifically, I think this is a problem that's maybe not unique to STOs, but again, it's a matter of supply and demand. And at the moment, I think there is a low number of projects, not necessarily that they have low quality, but just a low number of projects. And when you have a low number of projects, then you have on the other side investors who may not, we're talking about not people who are really into this stuff. We're talking about more laymen, people who are outside, let's say, the whole STO space. They haven't heard about it, or they don't know about it well enough, or even if they know about it, they will be more hesitant to consider that as a sound investment. And it's kind of a cycle here, because these people are not willing to give their money, and if there's not enough money, then there's less incentive for people to create new projects. But I think as time goes on, as some of the obstacles to tokenizations are kind of overcome, regulation being one of them, then you see a higher number of projects, and not only a higher number of projects, but also a higher quality. And sometimes not necessarily a quality, it's just blockbuster projects regular people have heard about. So these blockbuster projects will attract a lot of attention, and a lot of money will be poured in. And when there's a lot of money, there'll be incentive for other people to start projects. And again, which will in turn attract even more money. People will get more comfortable with technology. I think a lot of the memories from the 2017 and 18 period will disappear. And people will say, okay, this is something that's innovative. This is something by the book. This is something that's regulated. This is something that has a lot of potential, and I'm here early and I can take advantage of it. So I think there will be this effect, gradual effect, and there'll be a virtuous cycle where more money gets poured in. There'll be higher liquidity and more projects coming in the pipeline. And I guess everybody will be happy, or at least most people who are involved in the STO market. So I think in this case, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I agree with you. So Radoslav, thank you for your insightful interview. I think it was very practical and very data-driven. It was a pleasure to having you with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. Again, as you mentioned, we are very much data-driven at IDC. It's the International Data Corporation. So data is what we do, data is what we collect, data is what we analyze. So if anyone is interested in any of these tokens, and not just asset tokenization and STOs, if you're interested in DOT in the enterprise space, for example, I'll be really glad to talk with you and discuss these issues or problems. So if you want to get my opinion, so just hit me up on LinkedIn, Radoslav Dragov. There are not many people with that name, I can assure you. So just search for that, get in touch with me, and I'll be glad to have the discussion.
Yeah, we will leave your contacts in the description of the video. Dear viewers, do not forget subscribe to the channel to not miss our future interviews, and leave your comments below. So thank you, Radoslav, for the interview.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Yeah,
and happy holidays.
Thank
Bye.
you.